We have to make some Oscar predictions, and we have to do them right now. Welcome back to Archer Vision, presented by MovieArcher.com and the Movie Archer Podcast Network. My name is Nico, also known as Nico Knows Film, here and on TikTok. And yes, we are going to get into my personal Oscar predictions today. The nominations happen in 3 days. They happen on Thursday. Just to remind everyone before we keep going, these are my predictions. So through my own research, through my own history of predicting these award shows, also talking to other people, learning from other people. So a lot of people inform what we're going to do today. We're all kind of working together. We're all seeing what award shows are doing, seeing what other people are talking about, pundits, analysts, the pros who do this. So all of that informs the decisions that you'll see today. However, something I do is I do like to, as someone call it, hope dict. I do like to put some no guts, no glory picks in there because I think that makes it a little bit more fun. But I will not be considering the anonymous Oscar ballots that came out. Oh, they always come out at this time of year and they're all crazy and they're all over the place of things that are going to happen. I don't take those seriously, and we're not going to here. Of course, let's start with Best Picture. In my opinion, there's really only one thing we have to consider here, and that's what are we doing with the 10th spot? What are we doing with the last slot here? Because myself and a lot of other people, I think that 1 through 9 is pretty locked and pretty straightforward at this time. So we got one battle after another: Sinners, Hamnet, Frankenstein, Marty Supreme, Sentimental Value, Begonia, and The Secret Agent. With the way it just performed that Globes, which was the day before Oscar voting opened, Wagner Moore, Kleber, they both got up there and gave speeches. That Brazil passion is there. I think it's going to happen. We saw how the Academy embraced I'm Still Here last year. You have to go with it. And Train Dreams, it just feels like something the Academy is going to do. It's going to probably get a cinematography nomination, song nomination. Joel Edgerton I don't have in, spoiler alert, but he's creeping around to adapted screenplay. It's going to pick up. It just makes sense. What do we do at 10? Well, the first option, and the option that a lot of people are going with, is to put F1 in there. F1 got PGA. F1 is most likely going to end up with an editing nomination, a sound nomination. Some people think it's going to get in for score. Hans Zimmer, he could surprise the way like in Indiana Jones surprised a couple of years ago with John Williams. So F1, a lot of people saw it. It made a lot of money. It's Warner Brothers. They love their racing movies. The Academy loves to go vroom vroom. Now, another option besides F1 would be Weapons, another Warner Brothers movie. So at first it was, can Neon get 3 or 4 in? Now that's looking way less likely. We'll talk about that in just a sec. But now it's, can Warner Brothers get 3 movies in? So Weapons, I'm going to use a lot of the same support that I would use for F1. Weapons has a strong supporting actress contender. While I don't think Amy Madigan is going to win the Oscar, I think she's getting the nomination. She's shown up everywhere. She won Critics' Choice. She's been in the industry a long time. People know her. People like her. She's run a great campaign. Weapons, once again, made a lot of money. A lot of people saw this movie. So there's a lot of movies that we'll talk about throughout today that it's very clear people didn't see or people didn't get to. But a movie like Weapons, a movie like F1, you cannot deny that people saw it. Can Weapons also end up with a screenplay nomination? It very well could. They'll do something like that. You're looking at F1 or Weapons. I don't think both. I don't think PGA is going to transfer, that aggressively over here. But those two, I think, are very, very strong. If I had to pick one of those, I would just bet on the racing movie with Brad Pitt, and that'll show up in a few more texts than Weapons. But there's one more movie I want to talk about that I am really considering keeping in, and It Was Just an Accident. So I know we talked about Neon was at one point hoping to get 4 Best Picture nominees. Then it was like, okay, it's probably going to get 3. But then with the way the rest of the season played out, the way the BAFTA long list really left out Jafar Panahi, and It Was Just an Accident pretty much all together, the way the Globes went for The Secret Agent as opposed to It Was Just an Accident, Jafar Panahi has not had a televised award speech. That this movie has really not had a moment. And yes, one of the anonymous ballots said they couldn't get to this movie. They didn't even know what it was. And I know I said I wasn't going to comment on the ballots, but I believe that. I believe that this year, with a lot of critics groups, a lot of awards bodies, it just feels like this movie keeps getting lost, and I don't know why. Part of me goes, okay, this would be the movie that the Academy saves, that the Academy goes out for, but I just don't know, especially if they did not get to it the week of voting. So every part of me wants to hold on to this movie, because what I choose to do with It Was Just an Accident here is going to inform a lot of what I do with the rest of these predictions. So it's tough. I just cannot think that the Academy is not going to nominate or recognize Jafar Panahi here outside of the international feature category. It's very difficult. So at this moment in time, am I going to hope dick? Am I going to go no guts, no glory? Am I going to go for the safe thing? I think I'm going to hold on to it. And I think I'm going to keep It Was Just an Accident in here, because if I'm right, it'll feel great and I'll be like, I told you all. And if I'm wrong, I'll be like, okay, it was F1 or Weapons. I would rather take the exhilaration of the first one as opposed to the monotone, oh, of course, of the second one. Director is even harder. And that's because I really think it's like a four-way fight for the last spot. So we got Paul Thomas Anderson. We have Ryan Coogler. A lot of people leaving out Ryan Coogler. I just don't think you can, nor do I want to, nor will I invite that right now. I'm just not going to. I think it would be very egregious, but I also think I'm predicting Sinners to get many nominations, and I just don't see them leaving him out. Chloe Zhao is going to happen. I think Joachim Trier, especially with the performance at the European Film Awards, Sentimental Value and Surat were like the two biggest winners there. So I think Trier's in there. There's clearly so much love for that movie, and people keep trying to count it out. But it's like, I just wouldn't. I wouldn't. I think he's the international director who's a guarantee, the fifth spot. Whole season, I was like Jafar Panahi. That's the type of directorial effort. That's the type of narrative that the Academy will go for, even if a lot of places don't. BAFTA long list didn't make me feel good about that at all. But here I am still holding on to it. Now, Kleber for The Secret Agent gave a speech, won international at the Globes the day before Oscar voting opened. So if people hadn't seen The Secret Agent, they watched it and chose to vote for it, that would favor Kleber, in my opinion. Had people already seen it, and when it was time to vote, I do think Panahi is the stronger directorial vote. Like, I would give it to him instead. But if not enough people watched it, it was just an accident, nor if anyone felt the desire to do it the week of voting, I don't know if he ends up in there. So someone I'm leaving out that I have a strong urge is going to make it is Guillermo del Toro for Frankenstein. You got DGA. Frankenstein is very clearly a top 5 for picture because it's going to win multiple tech awards, multiple below the line awards. And they love their veterans. They love their Academy favorites, and he certainly is one. You know, someone like James Mangold popped up last year after DGA, and we really didn't think that would happen, but it did. You know, Josh Safdie, Marty Supreme is strong. You know, is this Josh Safdie's time? I still don't think the way Marty Supreme operates that would get it, so I'm going to move him down. I'm going to put Safdie as, like, I'm not even considering it right now. He'll be like the 8, if you will. So we're looking at Panahi, Kleber, or Del Toro, and I think I just have to do it. I think I just have to do it because, once again, would I rather go 4 out of 5 and be like, okay, or 5 out of 5 and I'm like, oh my gosh, I held on to it. I didn't go anywhere. I held on to Kristen Stewart and Spencer. You know, I just, when I feel like something I want to hold on to, I do it. So, you know what? I'm gonna keep Jafar Panahi in here, but I don't feel great about it in the slightest. I'm playing with my app right here. You know, a lot of people switching to Josh Safdie, Del Toro. I don't know. It doesn't feel like a year where they would go too international. It's not the Anatomy of a Fall zone of interest year, because both those movies were strongly competitive for wins in 2 different categories. Let's go with Frankenstein. PTA, Coogler, Zhao, Trier, and let's keep Del Toro in there for Frankenstein. I could see it. I could see it Thursday morning. I'm like, it was Del Toro. Best Actress, the category that keeps so many people awake at night during award seasons every single year. We got Buckley, we got Byrne, we got Reinsva. Reinsva's going to happen. I was like nervous. She won at the European Film Awards, Best Actress, well deserved, by the way, one of the best performances of the year. That is going over, that is not being celebrated and looked at enough because it is very nuanced, it's very detailed. But God, it's one of the performances of the year. She's doing so much. She's one of our best. So those are the 3. I'm going to keep Emma Stone in. I think there's this urge to take her out, but she's just showing up everywhere, and Begonia is clearly strong, and it's Emma Stone. And I'm just like, if she ends up not making it, I'll just be like, you got me. You got us. Do you know what I mean? So the last spot, I'm really between Chase Infinity and Kate Hudson. Now, here's what I'm going to do. And I don't like that. I don't like what I'm about to do, by the way. But I'm going to predict Kate Hudson because I learned from whatever year, what year was Annette Bening? That was either last year or 2 years ago. The Annette Bening thing, it's a biopic performance. It's very showy. She's shown up in big places. I think Infinity, they're gonna say we'll give you some more time. Let's wait a little bit, because even though it is the best picture favorite, I think there's stronger actress performances and more that people want to reward in this category. Whereas like they didn't do it for Alana Haim either. Now Licorice Pizza was not as strong as One Battle is, so I feel like it's going to be crazy. But Kate Hudson has a lot of love in the industry, and I feel like when it comes down to the Academy, they're going to do that. They're going to reward that type of performance. So I'm going to put Kate Hudson in there, keep Stone, keep Rineswood, keep Byrne, and keep Buckley. So that's really the 5 I'm looking at. But Infinity's right there, and it pains me to not put Infinity in there because I would rather have Chase Infinity there. Maybe I'll change it in a couple days and this video will be obsolete from this point of view, but I just think the Kate Hudson thing feels too strong. A lot of people are like, okay, can Amanda Seyfried surprise? Maybe that would be cool. I would really enjoy that because it's a great performance. But the Testament of Ann Lee, it just is like it's not showing up anywhere. It's barely showing up on long lists. Like it's just there's something about that movie that people just don't love and aren't clicking with. And could she be a Kristen Stewart and Spencer? Maybe. Jennifer Lawrence, My Love is an option, maybe. I don't think so, though. I really don't think so. I think that movie's just way too crazy. Ava Victor for Sorry Baby, I would love to happen, Julia Roberts, right? Day before Oscar voting, I'm going to keep saying this on the Globes, really shouted out Sorry Baby. And all week, all of a sudden, A24 is putting that everywhere. Ava Victor's was already probably going to be at a lot of these events, but the press and the spotlight was on them so much. So, listen, if Ava Victor showed up in that 5th spot, I would throw a parade. I would learn how to do backflips. I would learn how to do front flips. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it's between Hudson and Infinity, and I think it could be a big surprise for Seyfried. I think Arrivo's done. Someone like Tessa Thompson would be really cool for them to show up, but I don't think so. Let's move on to actor. This one I think is very straightforward, actually. We got Timmy, Leo, Ethan Hawke, Michael B. Jordan, and Wagner Moura. Those are like the 5 for me right now. I'm keeping Michael B. Jordan in. Some people think, will he be the Margot Robbie of Barbie, right? Will he get everything before and then he gets left out Oscar morning? Now, the BAFTAs are after the Oscars this year, both nominations and the award show, so we can't go off that. We can only go off what we have. And listen, he's shown up everywhere. His collaboration with Ryan Coogler has been a long-standing thing. He's also very likable. There's a massive likability factor. He's playing 2 roles in the movie. Sinners might set the nomination record, so why would you not bring Michael B. Jordan along here? And then Wagner Moura just won the Golden Globe. The speech was incredible. Like I said, The Secret Agent feels like it's really performing well right now. I think he's the 5. He feels like the Fernando Torres of last year. It's a very similar path. It just makes a lot of sense. Jesse Plemons is right here. And there is a world that I think it's very likely that Jesse Plemons gets in. I just don't know who he takes out. If it's Moura, that would be crazy to me. If it's Michael B., I would get it. It would still be wild. If it's Ethan Hawke, it would be crazy, but Ethan Hawke right now would technically be the only person who gets a nomination here who is not in Best Picture. So that's something to consider, actually. I know a lot of people aren't considering that. If it wasn't for Timmy and, if One Battle wasn't as strong as it is, a lot of people are thinking Hawke would win the Oscar here. That very well could be, but I'm just not quite sure who Plemons would take out. Joel Edgerton I have as like a 7, just because Train Dreams, career narrative, but it's a very subtle performance, and he just hasn't shown up the way these other 6 have. So I do think Plemons would miss here, but if Begonia's in Best Picture, if Stone's getting in, if it's getting adapted screenplay, how does Jesse Plemons not come along? It's really something to think about. You all don't know how bad I want to leave out Hawke for Plemons. Only because I just haven't seen Hawke's performance, and I like Ethan Hawke. He should have got a nom for First Reformed, but I'm like, is this just First Reformed again? Is he gonna need to be in a Best Picture movie to get that nomination? Listen, I'm gonna keep him in for now. But let me call this. If Plemons gets in Oscar morning, Hawke's the one who's not there. That's my guess. That's my bold prediction, but I don't want to predict it here. Supporting actress is wild. Taylor, Madigan, Inga Ibzadar Lilius, Wunmi Masaku. I think those four are pretty solid. I do feel like Inga's getting in. I think that's the supporting sentimental value performance that is getting more love. It pains me that it won't be both her and Elle Fanning. They both should be here. If it were up to me, both sentimental value supporting actresses would be here. Then at 5, a lot of people keeping Ari in. I would like if Ari got in again. I like the Glinda performance. And now I actually think she's stronger in part 2 than part 1, and this would be cool. Also back-to-back nominations for the same role in consecutive movies. That would be interesting. Odessa Zion showing up at SAG, though, was so interesting to me because, like a lot of people are saying, it does feel like the Monica Barbaro of last year, the performance who's working with Timmy, who has a lot of screen time with Chalamet, who is in, a top 6, let's say, contender for Best Picture, a movie that a lot of people are seeing. It's making a lot of money right now in Odessa Zion. I would subscribe to this too, is the more flashy and the more exciting supporting performance coming out of the movie. And some people say like the alphabet thing, right? Well, Odessa Zion's name is going to be at the top of a lot of lists that you're voting for. Would you just go for that? And I would. So I'm going to put Zion in and Grande out. The only reason I'm taking Grande out, the only reason is I'm going to go with this idea that when the Academy went down to vote this week, they went, we didn't really like Wicked for Good, and we nominated Ariana Grande last year. That's all I'm going to go for. But if Grande's in, I think Zion or Wunmi Masaku are out, but I still think with Sinners, they're going to check. I cannot think that Sinners is going to walk out of here with only 1 or 0 acting nominations. There has to be more than one here, and Jordan and Wunmi Masaku are the clear 1 and 2. And really the only crazy things that I think that could happen are Fanning still somehow shows up, which I don't know how, but Fanning somehow still shows up, or Gwyneth Paltrow shows up and we go, wow, it was just the industry and the Academy. She had so many friends and people who love and support her that they were like, when the ballots came out, they're like, well, let's put Gwyneth in there. And now that a lot more people have seen Marty, I think as the award season has went on, I think when nominations and votes were going around for early critics groups, Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, that they didn't get to Marty Supreme yet, but now that pretty much everyone has seen it, I feel like Paltrow could happen, but I think it's Grande or Zion, and that those are the two fighting for the last spot. Maybe Wunmi Masaku as well. Maybe Ari's really still number 3 or still number 4. I'm not quite sure, but I'm going to leave Grande out, keep a Zion in, and then anything else that happens would be a major surprise. Supporting actor, I actually think, is the easiest of the acting categories to predict. Stellan, Benicio del Toro, Sean Penn, both won Battle Boys there. Paul Mescal and Jacob Elordi for Frankenstein. I think that Critics' Choice win and that speech really helped him. Frankenstein being arguably a top 5 for picture. I think Elordi getting in is cool, and it's a cool nomination. That creature performance, the transformation, they don't always do something like this, so it would be really, really, really cool. Question is, okay, those 5 seem really sewn up, really easy. Well, early in the year, Adam Sandler was a favorite for Jay Kelly. Jay Kelly's nowhere to be found, especially when it comes to the Academy right now, so I don't think that happens. So then my only other option is someone from Sinners. Miles Caton got SAG. Miles Caton is a part of the song that is going to be recognized here. A young performer, sort of the voice of the movie, as I've called it. Delroy Lindo is another option to surprise Oscar Morning. Hasn't gotten in anywhere else, though. But could this be just like a veteran actor? Could this be one more person they want to pull in from the Sinners Palooza? So I could see the Academy rewarding Lindo for being a veteran more than a newcomer for Caton, but Caton is so prominent in Sinners. So will that happen? I could also see people not being able to make up their mind on those two when they were voting, so then it just becomes Stellan down to Elordi here. So these are the 5 I'm going to keep. There's really no one outside of those 7 or 8 that I feel like can happen. Once again, it would be something crazy. And Andrew Scott for A Blue Moon, right? I know they're campaigning both Josh O'Connor and Daniel Craig from Wake Up Dead Man, but I don't think that happens. I'm trying to think, is there anyone else I'm not thinking of? Yeah, Jeremy Strong for Springsteen. I don't think that's going to happen. William H. Macy for Train Dreams, that's one, but still, it just hasn't happened enough to make me think that any one of these 5 are going to be pushed out for someone else. I'm going crazy in original screenplay because there's something I want to do, and this is my big no guts, no glory, NGNG as the kids call it, my Hope Diction, is I'm keeping Sorry Baby in here. So Sinners, Marty Supreme, and Sentimental Value, those are going to happen. I want Sorry Baby to happen. I'm going to fully sign up for the beautiful delusion that the power of Julia Roberts and the power of Ava Victor, who's created a project, who has shown up a little bit everywhere. Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, Critics Groups. Ava Victor's been everywhere. There's a love for Sorry Baby. Ryan Coogler talking about it on, I forget if it was Fallon or Seth Meyers or Colbert, or whichever show he was on. I can't keep those talk shows straight. So I'm going to put Sorry Baby in there. I think it can happen. That would be the coolest thing. If not, okay, what's the 4 and 5, or what's the 5? Well, I'm going to hold on to It Was Just an Accident. I held on to it in picture. I didn't do it in director, but screenplay, original screenplay. Sorry Baby's a Hope Diction for me, so there's really 2 spots we're talking about here. So that and The Secret Agent, I think, could both happen. I think a lot of people are going to predict Sinners, Marty, Sentimental, It Was Just an Accident, and The Secret Agent. Those would be an exceptional 5 to put in this category. But I'm putting in Sorry Baby, so which one do I take out? Well, I think when they get to The Secret Agent, they're going to like it for Wagner Moura. They're going to like it for International. They're going to like it in Best Picture. And can Kleber get in somewhere? Maybe it's here. And maybe it was just an accident, guys. Maybe It Was Just an Accident misses everything. Maybe it misses picture. It definitely doesn't get director. And then it doesn't even get screenplay here. And it's just an international movie. At this point, I'm more so talking about, is It Was Just an Accident or The Secret Agent, not both. So I have to make a decision here. I think just because I want to, I'm going to hold on to Jafar Panahi because I think they want to give him one more individual nomination. And I think this is the place you could do it. I think if you didn't do it in director, you could easily put his name here. What are some other options? So The Secret Agent we talked about. Weapons. Weapons is a big one. If Weapons is in Best Picture, I could see Weapons showing up here. I just don't know. They'll give out nominations to movies like this. They will. So I do think it has a really, really great shot. You may even argue it has a better shot than Sorry Baby or The Secret Agent. And other options, Jake Kelly, maybe. I just think it's dead. But Noah Baumbach, it's tempting, right? And then Blue Moon, just because Ethan Hawke. If Ethan Hawke gets nominated, it means enough people watched Blue Moon. I didn't even talk about that Blue Moon could be the biggest surprise steal in picture of the day. I don't think that's going to happen, but screenplay, they could get creative. But now we're going to stick with Sinners, Marty's, Sentimental Value, It Was Just an Accident, and NGNG, No Guts, No Glory, Sorry Baby, Please, would be one of the coolest things they ever did. That would make this whole award season and this Oscars ceremony, no matter how the rest of it goes, such a memorable and such a legendary one for me personally. Adapted, I think, is a lot easier. One Battle, Hamnet, Begonia, Frankenstein, Train Dreams. I actually think those are the 5. What would be amazing is if No Other Choice could get in here, but I don't know what gets left out. Like maybe they end up being like, all right, Frankenstein, we don't need to do that. Let's put him in director. It's a retelling, it's an adaptation, so let's give something like more meaty in terms of writing, in terms of a screenplay, and that would be something like No Other Choice. But I don't think so. It's just Park Chan-wook, they just don't give him anything. It's tough. And then I have Wake Up Dead Man because if my memory serves me correct, both Knives Out movies got in here. So would they go 3 for 3? Would they be like, hey, Ryan Johnson, here's another one for your little mystery movies? So could that happen? Sure. But I just think those first 4 are so strong in picture. And then Train Dreams, I think, is going to get a Best Picture nomination. A lot of people love Train Dreams. If you look at a lot of top 10 lists of people, Train Dreams is on there. And the writing in that movie, the quotes, the way it's making people feel, the words of that movie stick with people immensely. So I could see that really impacting voters, and that's why Train Dreams is here. So this one I really think is only like 7 deep. I think if something else crazy were to happen, like a Nuremberg, or I don't think Life of Chuck. A lot of people love that movie, but that kind of fell off. And I don't think Wicked or Springsteen or, something like Die My Love could even happen. So let's look at those 5, and then those are the other 2 that could spoil. Wake Up Dead Man might actually be above No Other Choice. You could argue that too, that like Wake Up Dead Man is the clear 6 and No Other Choice is the clear 7. Let's go for casting. We really don't have precedent for this category. It's new. So how I decided to go about this is, okay, what were like the 5 most impressive ensembles, the casts to me. where there's multiple roles and the roles are memorable and the whole body of the ensemble feels complete. So one battle I think is obvious because you have Leo, you have Del Toro and Penn, multiple other actors be nominated. You have Chase Infinity, who's a breakout star here. You have Teyana Taylor. You have Regina Hall doing something dramatic. And Regina Hall's not in the movie that much, but there's a lot of love for that performance. And then Sinners is right behind it with how deep it is and how many people you could represent here. MBJ, Wunmi Masaku, Delroy Lindo, Miles Caton, Haley Steinfeld, which is a memorable performance for a lot of people. Jack O'Connell, who I'm surprised actually hadn't shown up in award season more, because like between this and 28 years, like Jack O'Connell, there's a lot of love for that performance right now, and he's just a guy on everyone's radar. Hamnet, I think when you look at Buckley and Mescal, but you look at Jacoby Jupe, child actor, very memorable performance. Emily Watson, Joe Alwyn, right? A lot of people in this movie, and they're all playing a really important role. Marty Supreme, of course, Timmy, but that movie casts a lot of different and real people. That's what the Safdies do. Kevin O'Leary, whether you like him or hate him, very memorable part of the movie. Very good. Gwyneth Paltrow, comeback role. Odessa Zion, breakout performer. And a lot of other people in that movie. Tyler, the creator, very fun role. Marty, I could see missing, though. We'll talk about that. But then Sentimental Value, which this is biased for me, but 4 performances that are pitch perfect. Best Ensemble of the Year. All 4 should be nominated, but we have a potential supporting actor winner in Stellan Skarsgård. So that's big. Frankenstein, I have on the outside looking in, but I think Frankenstein can take the place of Marty Supreme, and I think that literally would come down to the casting of Elordi as the monster, because that's one of the performances of the year for a lot of people. It's transformative, it's so memorable, it's so cool. You got Oscar Isaac, you got Mia Goth, but there's that old man, the old blind man, like that character and that performance is really moving for a lot of people. Wicked for Good, you could say, well, Arrivo and Ari. So, I mean, they're a match made in heaven, and they did it for 2 movies. They captivated audiences, right? The rest of that ensemble is really great, too. Jonathan Bailey, right? Ethan Slater, who has a lot more to do in For Good as the spoiler alert Tin Man, right? It's a very menacing performance. The secret agent, Tanya Maria, I think her name is, was like just started acting. He's very new to it. They got Wagner Moore, right? A really deep ensemble of these international players. Surratt cast a lot of real people, a lot of non-actors, right? That could be really compelling. And then something like Weapons, all the kids and Julia Gardner and Josh Brolin. So right now we're looking at One Battle, Sinners, Hamnet, Marty, and Sentimental Value. But I do think Frankenstein can spoil. And if one were to miss, probably Marty or Sentimental Value, but I would say maybe more Marty Supreme. I'm doing something crazy in international. A lot of people think it's going to be 5 Neon movies. That's what we've been predicting all year, but I just don't know. That's the only thing holding me up. And the one that would be the first one out, I think, is No Other Choice. I'm sorry, PCW, I love you. And the Academy needs to recognize you. And they should have did it for Decision to Leave. And listen, I like No Other Choice. A lot of people love it. I just think it's the easy one to leave out here. So we got The Secret Agent. We got Sentimental Value. It was just an accident. Surratt, listen. Sentimental Value and Surratt, as of this past week, cleaned up at the European Awards. So there's a lot of love for those 2 movies. And, of course, there's a lot of love for The Secret Agent. And it was just an accident. In the field of 5, international, Panahi's not going to miss here. I'm going to put the voice of the Hin Rajab in here. I was getting a lot of screener invites, a lot of emails. This movie was being pushed in the last couple weeks very strongly. There was a lot of FYC events for this movie, and I think it's so important. And a lot of people who saw this movie were very affected by it. And I could see the Academy getting their hands on this and really be taken by it. So this is another No Guts, No Glory, not just because I want it. Not because I want it, because I would rather have No Other Choice in here. I haven't seen the voice of the Hin Rajab. Actually, if it were up to me, I would put something like The Sound of Falling in here instead in that 5th slot, because I like that better than No Other Choice. I still like No Other Choice a lot, but The President's Cake, Resurrection, Left-Handed Girl, it's a deep year for international movies. My gosh, it's a shame not more people are seeing these films because they're incredible. But I would say the voice of the Hin Rajab is something that I feel like it's an Academy move that we're sitting there Oscar morning going, wow, as that name pops up on the screen. So this is just a guess for me. I'm trying to call something here. It's not necessarily what I want. It's something I'm trying to call, and I can see it happening. Editing, One Battle, Sinners, Marty Supreme, F1. I think it's going to happen in Hamnet. No Other Choice should be in this list. In fact, No Other Choice should be winning. It's the best, most creative, dynamic, crispy editing of the year. So listen, if that shows up here, that would be incredible. Another really cool nomination that they could do that I would be like, if they were to do Sorry Baby and something like this, I would be like, what a cool Oscars for two amazingly inspired picks. But I don't think it's going to happen. Sentimental Value, I think, is another really good one that could happen, because I think the editing in that movie is very, very good. Frankenstein, very strong as well. Begonia, very strong too. It's a good year for editing. I mean, listen, I'm sure every year's a good year for editing, because most movies that are very well made and in consideration for Best Picture and Oscars are well edited. But yeah, something like No Other Choice, it just stands above all these movies. But I think One Battle, Sinners, Marty Supreme, F1, Hamnet, those are the five. Like I said, No Other Choice would be like a great Hope Diction, a great No Guts, No Glory. No Other Choice could have a crazy day if it ended up in, screenplay and editing, and it did land in international. I'm predicting it to miss, but it probably won't. But no, I think we're looking at a really straightforward five with a couple spoilers. They really love Frankenstein. A lot of people sometimes predict just like the top five for Best Picture. F1, the Vroom Vroom movie, is like definitely spoiling that. And then it makes you think, okay, well, what would be the five, Hamnet or Frankenstein? What's higher, Hamnet or Frankenstein? Well, Frankenstein's going to win a lot of these texts, but Hamnet is going to probably have an actress win, and Chloe Zhao is like top 3 for director. Production design, the first of 3 that Frankenstein is going to win. So Frankenstein, Sinners, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, and Wicked for Good. I just think it won last year. Those sets, the colors, the world of Oz, world building. This is the world building award, right? And these are the 5 movies that I think create the most unique world in them. One Battle After Another, it's crazy to think a category it's going to miss. And it could very well show up here. They could be over Wicked. They could, not be as into Marty Supreme, but they make the 1950s New York, and they travel to a couple different countries, and it just looks so good. And Hamnet is so beautiful with the earth. It's so natural. And Frankenstein and Sinners speak for themselves. You would think maybe Avatar, Fire and Ash, because of everything that it takes going into those movies. I would love a nom for like Fantastic Four, First Steps. I think that would be cool. That movie from a production standpoint is really, really great. A lot of great practical stuff. That futuristic Jetsons 1960s feel is awesome. Listen, The Testament of Van Lee should be getting nominated. I could even argue probably should win. But I just don't think a couple of those could be surprises. Avatar, F4, Testament of Van Lee. One Battle could easily be in here, but I think the world building of Frankenstein, the world building of Sinners, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, and Wicked for Good are just too strong. For costumes, I have the same 5, but in a different order. Frankenstein still winning, right? Frankenstein, Wicked. Sinners, yes, because they're all in that world together, wearing very similar things. Hamnet, of course, period piece, right? I mean, Sinners technically a period piece too, but like what they're wearing in Hamnet and Marty Supreme, yes. One Battle, I think, once again, because it's more contemporary, it feels like you could leave that out. Secret Agent, I would love to see show up here. Just, oh man, everyone looks so great in that movie. And I mean, Testament of Ann Lee, Hedda. I mean, now these are movies where like costumes are like one of the most memorable, impressive things about it. So if the Academy wanted to get really creative and less basic by just going with like Best Picture films, you would see a Secret Agent or an Ann Lee or a Hedda. I mean, even like a Kiss of the Spider Woman in here, I would have a lot of respect for, right? The dazzling old musical feel and look to it. But I just think they're going to go safe, and it would match up with production design pretty well, because those wins go together a lot of the time. So I just think when you're voting and when you're nominating, you're just going to pair those two together, because yes, production design is world building, but costumes is how you're making the characters exist in that world. So I think that consistency going back and forth just is something that happens in the minds of voters. Hell, when I was voting for my critics group, I would be lying to you if I didn't have those thoughts come into my mind. Makeup and hair, Frankenstein, Wicked, Sinners, One Battle, and The Smashing Machine. Just that transformation for Dwayne Johnson. I think we got to put that in there and see what happens. The Ugly Stepsister, I can see on the outside looking in. Nuremberg, Russell Crowe has a lot of makeup on him. The rest, I don't know. I mean, Marty Supreme, I think, has a really good shot. Everybody looks very good in that movie, right? In fact, if this happens, I would be relatively unsurprised if they just went, we're going to put that in and get rid of the smashing machine. But this category can be pretty cool. They will put things in here that they like to do. I'm surprised weapons didn't make the long list for this. I think that would have made me feel better about weapons in Best Picture and about someone like Madigan winning, but it's not here. So, okay, but so the movie I think they're going to be cool with, because they do some inspired things, would be The Smashing Machine or The Ugly Stepsister or both. But what would they take out, though? I cannot see them taking out 1 through 3. I can't really see them taking out one battle after another either, but they could. But Sean Penn at the end of the movie has all that stuff going on with his face, and I just think that they wouldn't do that. So I would say these five, and Marty or The Ugly Stepsister can be the picks that spoil, but the smashing machine is like the inspired one for them here. I won't lie to you, Dwayne looked good. Sound is fascinating because I actually think there could be a couple interesting things. I think F1 is the number one here, and it wins. Just the Vroom Vroom movie again. Vroom. One Battle, Sinners, yes. Frankenstein, yes. I think Avatar, Fire and Ash, just with all those action set pieces, the creatures, the water. There is great sound in that movie. It is a very immersive experience. Whether you like those films or not, James Cameron does give you something that is cinematic from a multi-sensory experience. Seurat would be such a cool nomination because the sound and score of that movie are awesome. And that would be a very inspired pick by this category. And now they did it for the Zone of Interest. They brought in this category, so that gives me hope for something like a Seurat. I think that'd be a very, very cool nomination, a very special nomination. So Seurat's my 6. Now Mission Impossible didn't Dead Reckoning get in a couple years ago? That could happen here too. And you could see like Avatar miss for Mission Impossible, or you could see something like Frankenstein, or maybe if they don't want to give Sinners everything. Oh, but Sinners has the music. Sinners has the music. I think that 5th spot could be Mission Impossible instead of Avatar, or Seurat instead of those. Wicked, I don't think so. Springsteen, I don't think so. And Superman, I don't think so. I know those are some of the other options here. But look out for Seurat, but look out for Mission Impossible. I think the Final Reckoning could be the biggest spoiler for that number 5 spot if they choose to not go with Avatar. Score, I think, is straightforward. Sinners, One Battle, Hamnet, Frankenstein, Marty Supreme. I think those are the 5 scores that stand out to most people. Seurat, once again, I think Seurat's an excellent score, but that's more Challengers-esque. That's more of that, house music, EDM, like all that stuff. They don't seem to really love that, the Academy, so I don't think that'll happen. Begonia, and I give credit, Nicholas Bertel's score for Jay Kelly is really nice. But I think if anyone was going to spoil, I think it's Hans Zimmer for F1. I said this during the Best Picture talk, but when they put Indiana Jones in there instead of, Spider-Verse or some other options, I'm like, okay, they like things that are more traditional, and Hans Zimmer is, has won with them before, is nominated all the time with them. It would be easy to vote for Hans Zimmer. And Marty Supreme, I could see that Daniel Lopatin's score, just as much as I love it and think it's so cool for the movie because it doesn't really exist in that time period, but it makes that movie just feel surreal. And at times it gives it this like fantastical, like adrenalized push to it. I could see them leaving out Marty Supreme for F1, and I could see us being mad about it. I feel like in score every year, there's one that gets left out that we're all really mad about, and I think that would be Marty Supreme this year. So I'm not ballsy enough to make it happen, and this time it's not ballsy because I don't want to predict it. It's ballsy because I do not want it to happen. I want that Marty Supreme score in there. So we're going to keep my 5, but remember this. I've said this a few times. If one spoils, it'll be Hans Zimmer for F1, and I'll be kicking myself that I didn't predict it, but I don't want to predict it because then if it comes true, I'm going to be like, wow, I put that bad juju out into the world. So let me keep the good juju and keep Marty Supreme in there. My cinematography file, the video and the audio got messed up, so let me re-record it here. Predictions are, I think you're looking at something really simple for this category, at least in 4 places. You're looking at One Battle, you're looking at Sinners, you're looking at Train Dreams, that's going to be big in this category, 1 at CCA, and then you're really probably going to have Frankenstein and Hamnet too, just gorgeously captured movies, especially Hamnet, the how it's the way Chloe Zhao captures the earth. I think Marty Supreme could be a really good player too. It's hard to imagine it not getting in. It just has that vintage New York look and feel. There's just something so dynamic about the camera work in that movie too, especially in those ping pong scenes. Um, I think other ones that could happen, F1 could happen. Once again, the Academy loves their vroom vroom stuff, but also, there was impressive technical aspects that went into capturing all those scenes and what they're doing with the camera and the racing. I will say this. Don't count out something like Nouvelle Vague. The proof will be this year. The Academy loves their black and white. They love their black and white. And if that movie gets in this year, I will, for the rest of my time doing this awards prediction stuff, I will always put the black and white movie in the lineup. So let's see what they do. But for now, I would stick with those five. But those are some of the alternates: Marty Supreme, F1, and Nouvelle Vague, just because the black and white song. Well, we know Golden's winning, and it should. I Lied to You is next, no doubt. Ari's song, Girl in the Bubble, that's there, and then Train Dreams. I'm predicting Train Dreams to get a few things, so I have to bring the song with it. I have the Diane Warren song in there. I have the freaking Diane Warren song in there because how many times are we going to learn? How many times are we going to learn? You put Diane Warren. If she's there, you put her in there. Should she not be nominated? Of course. I haven't heard this song. I haven't even heard the song she writes or makes in years past. But you cannot count her out. She's due every single time. And this is literally a documentary, I think, about her. How are they not? How are they not going to do that? But if they choose not to, or if they choose to leave out something like Train Dreams, Dream As One, the Avatar song, because I kind of dig it. It's kind of a good song, kind of a banger. Miley Cyrus would be cool to get her an Oscar nomination. She's my birthday buddy, actually. Fellow Sagittarius, November 23rd. I don't think they'll do another Wicked song or another Sinner song. I just think there's too many options. But if they were going to reward a movie twice, I do think it would be Sinners. I think they would choose to throw a second one in here, but I already have it at like a record-setting 15. If you've been paying attention, I have it getting a record-setting 15. So they're not going to give it 16. And if they leave out Sinners in another place, 2 songs could get it to that number. But Sinners will end up with somewhere between 13 and 15, in my opinion. And then Drive, I don't know the F1 song. I don't know who does that. Is that Tate McRae or does Ed Sheeran have a song? I don't know. Those people don't need Oscar nominations. No offense to either of them, but they don't need them. And then animated, I think pretty simple. They do sometimes surprise in this category, but K-pop, Zootopia, Little Amelie, Arco, and Elio. Neizatu would be cool, perform very well at the box office. In Your Dreams, that Demon Slayer made a lot of money. Scarlet. Listen, I'm not, this year with animated, I've actually only seen one of these movies, being K-pop Demon Hunters. So I don't have a lot to say. These are films I'm going to have to watch leading up to the actual Oscar awards to see how I feel about it. So that's just where we have to sit with these. That I don't feel educated enough to make any changes. And these 5 seem relatively locked in. It seems what the consensus is saying, so let's stick with them. And there we have it. Unfortunately, I have not gotten to the shorts or the documentary category. I'm just going to predict what, like Award Expert or Gold Derby are predicting and just go with those 5 and just live with it. Each year I try to get to each and all of those. It's so hard. It's so hard, especially during FYC season when you're trying to get everything in possible that, goes for Best Picture and all these other categories that those get lost to me. So I'm going to try to be better in the future. I am. Please give me your thoughts and your nominations, especially your no guts, no glory picks. Tell me what things you really hope happen. Tell me what you're hope dicting for, like me. And then tell me what you think of mine. Do you think I'm crazy in some categories? Do you think I'm on the money? What would you change if you were me? I love feedback. I love getting other people's opinions too. It just makes this more fun. So most importantly, I hope you follow Nico Knows Film here on YouTube, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Go follow me on TikTok for smaller videos. I'll do more reviews on TikTok than I do on this channel normally. MovieArcher.com and the Movie Archer Podcast Network, they are doing so many amazing things. The people I'm involved with there's a lot of interviews coming for a lot of potential things that you may see in the Oscar shorts this year. So stay tuned for that. And everyone there is just doing incredible work. So Nico Knows Film, YouTube, TikTok, Nico Crusoe on Twitter, and MovieArcher.com. Please go follow. Please go check everything out there. Thank you for listening to these predictions today, and I cannot wait to hang out with you all Oscar morning. It's right around the corner.